What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. My name is Justin, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. We are here talking tonight some more Superman for all seasons. This is the final issue of the 4-issue miniseries, and yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I always say it's not. I'm saying we, but it's not just me here. Let me bring my co-host on here. Good old fire guy, Ryan. Ryan, what is up, man?
I'm excited.
Yes,
Dude.
he's gritting his teeth.
I'm ready.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Dude, this has been fun. This has been so much fun to like.
It feels like it went so fast.
I know, and we've been doing pretty good. Like every other week, we've been pretty much.
I've been kind of proud of us.
Right?
Pat myself on the back here, but we've been consistent.
Heck yeah. Oh, and there he goes. Ryan's gone. Well, in the meantime, I need to share my excitement because the Yankees just won a walk-off win. So for anyone who cares, I'm very pumped about that. Literally just happened. That'll be my filler for when Ryan gets back. There he is. Hey, man.
Hey.
You're like, this was great. See ya.
I'm out. I got to make sure to watch that on the replay.
Yeah. So how you doing? First of all, how's your 2 weeks been since we've been live before?
I'm doing okay. It's been, I'm busy as always, but there's ups and downs in the world and the world of comics, especially in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. I'm glad to hear. I was through hell last week. I had to travel to San Antonio for work, and I was at 2 different airports for over 13 hours each. And I even took off. We flew 1.5 and turned around to go back to San Antonio on my way back. It was really, really scary, actually, because I woke up and people were freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. And then all of a sudden I hear an 1.5 in, I hear, we will be landing back in San Antonio in 20 minutes. And I'm like,
just like,
is this Groundhog's Day? Like, what? Yeah, like, what? Am I on the right plane right now? So yeah, that was not fun. Anyways, that's my venting for the evening. Things are good though. Everything's good. I was just sharing as you jumped off for a second, my excitement because my Yankees just had a walk-off win, so I had to include a little baseball talk in here.
Slip it in while I'm gone.
Yes, exactly. So anyways, we're here to talk about Superman for all seasons, and for those who have been hanging out with us or watching the replay over these past 2 months, essentially, we appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I hope that people are enjoying this, and maybe we introduced some Superman, some really great storytelling about Superman to some new folks as well. So but yeah, we're gonna break down this 4th issue, this final issue, so spoilers. But before we do that, I will say take a minute, smash the like button if you haven't already, and if you are not following Ryan, you should. I put his information in the description below, so you can find him there. A quick hello to the chat. I see my man Kevin. What is going on? Entropy in Comics. Good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. Curious, Kevin, if you've read this series before or if you're a fan. So yeah, I still got to get that hardcover. It is on my list, Ryan. That is on my list. So I want to hear your general thoughts on just issue 4. To start it off, what did you think overall before we dive into the details?
I had the feeling, or had the thought while I just reread this, by the way. I had the thought while reading it, like, this is the first time I've ever not read this all at once, because I didn't read it when it was coming out, month by month. I've only ever read it in a graphic novel format, and this is the first time that like I just jumped in on issue 4, which I haven't read since the last time we read this whole book a couple months ago, which for me is like 10 years. It's gone.
Yeah. Totally.
So it made me appreciate the story a lot more, I guess, especially this final issue, which is not my favorite issue of the whole, of all 4 issues. It definitely helps it stand out more, I think, when you give them the space. Yeah. Spacing it out like this.
Agreed. I'm with you. And of course, still get fantastic artwork, and I know we'll get into that. I have the whole slideshow and everything, so we'll show some stuff off. But yeah, I'm kind of in the. I really enjoyed it. I think it buttoned it up nicely. And I like that we get these characters I like that we get like little characters that have been sprinkled throughout this. Like even as we get into the beginning, we're going to see this, little kid that we've seen now for a few times. I like that they bring these little ongoing characters that aren't, they're not main focuses in any way. But I think it's well done. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. And so yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to bring this up. And so I wanted to just start with, as I was telling you backstage here, just threw in this picture here of Tim Sale, as he is the artist of this book that we've been reading. And unfortunately, last week he had passed away. I wanted to just share because, I mean, one, obviously it's always sad to, lose someone who I know is recognized as, very, very known, artist, well-known artist in this hobby, in this industry. And it's always sad to see, someone like that go, and especially at 66 years old, which I think is still very young. But just to share my input on this, I didn't really know him until I started reading things like this, and I've always heard his name. I know he did, the Batman, The Long Halloween and stuff, and I still haven't read that yet. Shame on me. I have to read that. Yeah. But so I've always heard his name, and that's really the only experience I've ever had, other than now reading this, which I'm super glad that I've given this a shot, and thanks to you and a few others who have really pointed this book and this story out to me, because I love it and I love the artwork. So yeah, I'm again just sad, but I wanted to just put this in here. Anything you want to share or about Tim Sale before we move on?
It's been a rough couple of months for specifically comic book artists, and as for me personally, this one hurts the most compared to it's hard not to compare to Neil Adams and George Perez, who we lost recently. But from my personal experience, I never really read anything, especially I didn't grow up with a lot of Perez stuff or Neil Adams stuff, but Tim Sale has been there since I started reading comics. For me personally, like with this book, and shame on you for not reading Long Halloween.
I know it's bad.
He's also local, and I got to meet him at Emerald City Comic Con a couple years ago, and I felt bad because he was having trouble like signing stuff. His hand, he was doing like therapy exercises or whatever. His hand. But I chit-chatted with him for a bit, and I bought I bought this like print from him.
Oh yeah, love it.
A couple years ago.
Nice.
I got it signed and everything, so I might actually have to like permanently dig this out of the closet and get a frame for it or something.
Yeah, you should.
I at least got this like plastic protector thing. I don't know what the hell to do at cons. So I don't have a frame for it, and it's just been in my closet. But now, now it hits different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you threw this in here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to hear a little bit on your end of what you've had experience wise with him and just his work and stuff like that. That's really cool. I mean, I just reading this has made me want to go in, seek more of his work out and just get a better understanding of what he's done in the industry. And as I mentioned earlier, like I know he's done a lot. So that's something I'll continue to do. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight, Tim Sale, and, rest in peace to Tim. So yeah, we'll dive into this issue, as we do here. Also I see Krista in the chat. What's going on, Krista? Appreciate you hanging out. You are not late. We're good. You're good. We're just diving
a little late.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine.
Who cares? It's summer, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, here it's winter, as you can see.
Exactly.
So one thing I will say, I wish we got more, a little bit more, or something, because we didn't really get any. A little bit of a Christmas theme or holiday theme, with the setup, and I still take those vibes, even though it wasn't really given in the book. But this is now, in my mind at least, forever a Christmas type book. This issue, I should say. Anything with snow involved, I'm like, oh, this is great. It's Christmas time. This is great. So that's how I look at it. So I love it.
Are there?
So that
There's even like Christmas lights and decorations on the city down here. On
yeah,
the cover.
see, yeah.
He's
Yep.
at home visiting family in
It's
winter. Like
totally, yeah.
they very
Yeah, yeah.
easily could have made this a Christmassy issue, and there's none of that in here. You're right.
Oh yes, yeah, for sure. So I feel like when I do reread this again, I'm gonna want to make it around around winter time. I just feel like that's an appropriate time to read it, even though it touches all the seasons.
It's good year round.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing. When I get the hardcover, that'll give me another excuse to say, oh, I should read this, and put this hardcover to use. So that's my plan, anyways. Krista says, not that I'm a big DC fan, but I thought I'd listen in. Krista, you totally should, and maybe we can change your mind at least on this particular series, because up until about a year ago, I was kind of with you. I wasn't the biggest DC fan, just in general. Not that I wasn't a fan, but I just wasn't giving it time because I was so focused on Marvel and indies and stuff. But man, I love it now, and I'm loving Superman, and a big thanks to this series for sure. So maybe we can change your mind there.
Read this book.
Yes, yeah. So going into it, this is what I was referring to earlier. So and Krista, for clarifying, this is the 4th issue out of a 4-issue miniseries. So technically, this is the final issue. But you really could kind of, I mean, I guess you really should read from the beginning. But just to give you the heads up. But yeah, so I love that, as I was mentioning in the beginning, we still get these little characters like this kid who we had met, in the first or second issue when Clark is finally in Metropolis for the first time. And,
that was the end of issue 1.
Oh, that was okay. That's it. Yeah. The end. Yeah. And I love that line at the end. And, he talks about his, really cool costume. Thanks. My mom made it for me. Like, great line. So that's this kid, and he's chasing a cat or something.
I'm a little disappointed that this kid, I'm a little disappointed that this kid has not learned.
No.
Do not play on the ledges. How's he getting up here is my question too. These are like skyscrapers. Right. And he's just prancing around on the ledge of a very snowy, possibly icy cement surface,
He's just living life, Ryan. All right. He's living on the edge.
He's doomed. This kid's gonna fall off the building, and someone's not gonna catch him eventually.
Yeah, right. Well, I like how this opens up. I was curious, the first time reading this, I was curious who the narration was going to be, because obviously every issue has been narrated by a different character, which has been a really cool theme. And I'm glad that they kept that up all the way through this final issue. So we get Lana as the main voice here, the main narrator, which I thought was great. The last ones were Jonathan Kent first, Lois Lane, and then Lex Luthor, which was also very creative to get his point of view. And yes, now we're getting Lana Lane here. So the general scene that we're looking at here is really the idea that Superman has left, right? The way we left off last issue, Clark feels that he just can't handle, he just can't save everybody. He can't just do it all. And because of that, he feels like he's let down people and that maybe he shouldn't be doing this at all. And so he went back home, and this is kind of where this issue picks up. Lex Luthor has these green, robots that are supposed to be in charge of saving the world, but they're not as great as Superman, and they're much more robot-like. So yeah, not quite. I mean, it's probably built out of whatever Lex's.
I feel like it's him working towards that. Yeah. Like he's clearly playing with the same color schemes here.
Right. Yeah. For now, these are technically like robots that he has. So anyways, it's trying to save this kid. As he's playing baseball or whatever. Love the opening panels though. Oh yeah, I forgot. I wanted to break this one particular scene out a little bit, and I forgot to do that. But basically her just explaining how her perspective of how she pictured this like wonderful life with Clark when they were younger, and they went to school together and everything and grew up together in Smallville, and how that clearly was not the case as things unfolded and as we got to see how the direction went for all of them. What were your general thoughts here with just some of these opening scenes that I'm kind of flipping through here?
I love the concept, I guess, of this issue is sort of looking back on life and where you've been, and where you grew up, and it's got Clark going home for a big part of this issue, and having Lana Lang in particular as the choice of narrator, I think is a really that decision makes a lot more sense once you get back into Smallville, once we get out of this opening scene and you get to see the overall premise, which again is looking back and where you've come from and your family. And there's just a lot of feelings in this issue, and it has a lot of meaning for me too, because I first read this book right when I got to college for the first time. And I had not really experienced this part in particular, this like feeling of like, you have all these plans and stuff, but then life happens and you never really look back. At least I try not to on what could have been, but
sure.
Absolutely. Get into it here.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like seeing old friends, like the idea of that, or, going back home and catching up with friends that maybe you haven't caught up with in a long time, things like that, like those types of memories for sure. This definitely hits home for. Hey, we got Kenneth Bird in the house. What is up, Kenneth? Thanks for stopping in, man. So with this scene here, one of the reasons I wanted to, make it a bit bigger was I like that it shows Lex Luthor and he's basically thinking that he has the town or the city to himself, that there's now no more Superman, that his tricks basically worked, that he talked Clark Kent into, going away, or I should say Superman, because he doesn't know who he is. But basically talk Superman into going away. Right. And that he, hey, you let this girl die. It's your fault, all this stuff. So this was him just kind of looking onto his city there with those thoughts. And then we get this little bit here, which I really enjoyed. Flash forwarding to Lois Lane, who is also upset because one, Superman's not around, and that's like who she's been writing all these big stories about. And then two, she's like also noticing, oh, how convenient. Clark Kent just happens to have his paid time off around the same inconvenient and boring time, right?
It really makes you wonder. Like I would almost wish this series went on a little longer, just because it's a matter of time before this is such a stupid, like they're both gone at the same time, and she's clearly onto it. She thinks it's stupid and she laughs it off now, but I think like, especially at the end of this, when he comes back with this story of like, oh, while I was gone, Superman was also just so happened to be at the place I was at too.
At this little city, at this little town. Yeah.
Eventually they would put it together, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. And I remember reading this the first time around and thinking like, is it gonna be that, does she learn this quickly? Like, is she gonna figure it out right now? Because it does for like just a split second as you're reading this or flipping through the pages, you're just like, she's like, wait a second. She's like, if he's gone and Superman's gone, and she's like, unless, she's like, no, that's just silly, and totally waves it off. That was great.
Cool sequence though.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, we got Anthony in the house, my man, Streetside Anthony. Thanks for swinging by, man. Yeah. So any other thoughts on some of this? I know that she was, it's other than this, the narration. And again, we get this in a lot of the series, narration being one thing, the imagery telling a complete different story or different part of a story. So I know for this is kind of Lana still explaining what had happened and how she was that night, which was what, issue 1 or issue 2, where she learns that issue 1, where she learns that Clark Kent, can fly. And meanwhile, she thought he was going to ask her to marry him or something like that. And it was not that at all.
I just appreciate too how they were able to include Lois, even though she already had her chapter and she's been a narrator for a while. And even though this issue really doesn't focus on Metropolis a whole lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they were able to give her this moment, which is good. It hits in a different way. And if this was like Perry or Jimmy Olsen or something, like this makes sense. And I'm glad it was just her by herself too.
Right. Yeah, agreed. And then next we have so we have Clark still in Smallville, and this is where he's catching up with Lana. And this is really all these years later, right? They've kind of or they're older now. He's back, and I love that he's wearing his high school jacket, and she even like calls him out on it. She's like, I don't know many grown men who still wear their high school Letterman jacket. He's like, oh, yeah. Meanwhile, she's like reminiscing of, and I do like this because it like you're saying, like it just makes you think back. You put yourself in her shoes and his shoes, and you just think back to those times of like, visiting your old hometown or flashbacks of like whatever high school or college or those types of memories. And she talks about that here, and talking about Smallville High. She says it was a long time ago. Yes, somehow it feels so close to yesterday. She says the things we worried about, staying out late, school dances, acne, homework, falling in love. She says, I guess neither of our lives turned out the way we expected, which is totally relatable for sure. But yeah, so I like that they're reminiscing here, and they're going out, catching up and going to walk to, I guess, onto the farm or wherever to make some snow angels. And again, just that kind of, holiday Christmassy vibes, which I'm digging. So that's where I was at with this.
I got two things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can zoom in on these pictures you have.
I can't. I don't think I can.
The Clark Kent doing this.
If you want to hold it up. Oh,
is great. It's so good. It's in the middle on the right hand side.
Oh yeah.
His super excited face. I love that. That's point number one.
Yep.
But then they're looking at their snow angels, which is what obviously has him so excited. And she says, Clark, yours looks just like, and then he cuts her off.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was going to say. And I've always like kind of wondered that every time I read this book.
Yeah. So that actually crossed my mind too. Cause I thought I was missing something when I read that. I was like, huh. I was like, maybe it's something I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of insider thing or some sort of obvious history that,
like an actual angel,
a
snow angel. But isn't that the point? Like they all look like angels.
Right.
Maybe she's trying to say his looks like Superman.
Okay, maybe. I mean, it's definitely much larger than hers. But yeah, in terms of kind of how she would end that sentence, they both look like snow angels. So I don't know. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just a weird, like the way he cut her off, and it just felt like it was supposed to be something more than it was.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I definitely did a double take when I had read through this.
But obviously the more important part is his just happy face. He's just so excited.
He does have a great face there. Yeah.
Little things.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and then they're just talking about again reminiscing. And Clark is he's like talking to her about, because now obviously she knows the whole thing with Superman, so he is kind of explaining to her that as he says I'm trying to figure a bunch of stuff out, and she's like, you mean like Superman stuff? She's like, Clark, you can do anything. And he says, can I? And that's where he's still beating himself up for what had happened last issue, and feeling like he let the world down, and realizing that he can't do everything. And so this is him still kind of struggling with that, even though they're having a good time in the snow and all that. Chris says it looks a little bit more like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. It'd be on theme with the Omni X-Men stuff John and I were talking about.
I was gonna say, you should have seen the Phoenix before any of us.
Totally. Krista was there. She was there, so she's on it. Good call, Krista. Then we get, as you mentioned, bringing it back to kind of the town here. This was nice too, just to again catch up with the folks that we read from issue 1, which again, now it kind of feels like it was a while ago since we've been taking our time with reading each issue, and you're like, oh yeah, like those old guys that are, still there playing cards, and what's their friend's name? Pete.
Most of them are still there playing cards anyway.
Yeah. Right. And then they see Pete. Is it Pete Ross? Is that his name? Pete.
Yeah.
So he's chilling there. They come walking up. She does talk a little bit about, and this is what something I wanted to ask you was, She shares like her thoughts on. She says, "I never said goodbye to Pete Ross." She talked because she just left when she split, and meanwhile, I mean, Clark said goodbye to people when he left, but like it's still they both left the small city to go do their own thing, and it was Pete Ross who he was the one originally from issue 1 where he was like, "Man, guys, when I graduate, I'm out of here. I'm going to the big city, and I'm not looking back." And yet here he is. He's the one out of the 3 of them. He's the one that stayed behind in Smallville his entire life. Which we in this next couple of panels we do get a little bit of his vibe on how he feels about all of that because he's not quite happy, or I don't know if you want to call it jealousy or what have you, but so I thought that was interesting. But what did you think of some of these scenes here? And I'll skip to the next page here too.
It was a lot. Like I'm just consistently impressed with the assortment of unique emotions that this book is able to produce, especially when compared to a lot of other comics. Like they don't make you feel this particular kind of going back to your hometown feeling.
Yeah.
Like this is a very specific experience and moment that you have as a young adult. And like I never think about it until reading this book, or if I'm in my hometown for whatever reason. That's the only real time these feelings ever come up. And it's just seeing Pete in particular be like kind of a cranky grown up now instead of a wishful kind of idealistic little punk kid.
Right.
I don't know. There's just a lot of cool progression that you get here for even the old guys playing cards and stuff. Like, it works.
Yeah, I agree. And I like how she was asking him. She's like, "What did you make your wish? Your $1 million?" Because how he did very much like George Bailey, putting his hand on the elephant, whatever that lucky lighter thing was, and he would say, "Wish I had $1 million." He doesn't do it here.
$1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad we got that clip in there, Ryan. Totally making that a clip later. That was spot on. The fact he's here, this is where we get a little bitterness because he's like, "Oh, that childish stuff. Like, I've grown out of that. We grow up."
I'm actually still on the last page here, and the one line he has when they're walking up to the store is like, he's like, "You guys, did you walk here?"
Oh yeah,
like he got dropped off or he drove, but like they wanted to take the time and relive, re-experience the memories and stuff, and he's just like, "Come on, like let's just. I'm used to this."
Yeah. Totally. And even on that page, he like mentions, or she shares that even when she did write to him, she said that I sent him postcards with no return addresses and hoped one day he would just forgive me. So like, I do see his side of things where he just feels they left him and no one attempted to like really stay in touch with him in the way
that's kind of a dick move, right? Like,
yeah.
Like I care enough to tell you how things are and what's going on with me, but like I don't want you to know where I am or like how to get in touch with me if you need to.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it would almost be better to just cut him off.
Yeah. Right. What are you trying to accomplish by sending him a letter, checking in, but not allowing him to say anything back? Like what is the?
Yeah, that's mean.
No, it is. It really doesn't. Man, Lana, she's tough. But so we do get. So I didn't know if she was. I mean, at one point she shares like she had a crush on him, right? Or where was it?
On Pete or on Clark?
Oh no, that's right. She had a crush on Clark. That's what it was. All right, maybe I'm mixing the two here. But I know that like, so he does like snap at them when she says like, what's gotten into you? He goes, what's, oh no, sorry. That's the wrong line. Where's he says, he says, go ahead, Clark. When the old guys ask him to join in the game.
Oh, I loved that response. I thought that was like, it was dark and it was hilarious at the same time.
He says, go ahead, Clark. We'll come back for you in 20 or 30 years. She's like, Pete.
That's what it feels like though. They've been sitting there this whole time.
Yeah. Yep.
From an outsider's perspective, it's like they don't have their own life and they don't go home and sleep and eat, and this is only part of their day, I think.
Right. Yeah, you think.
But as far as these guys are concerned, they're there 24/7.
Right. So I guess my question is, I mean, so he's salty, essentially, Pete. But like with it, what he says here, he says, I mean, so he's like, he's saying nothing. He goes, what she said, what's gotten into you? He says, what's gotten into me? Why don't you ask Kent? And Clark's like, what did I do? He goes, nothing. You did nothing. He says, you go out into the big wide world, the both of you, and you come back here to of all places, Smallville, capital S, as in small, and you know what, and you and you want to know what the worst part of it is. You can't even see how wrong that is. So, I mean, is he just making them feel bad that, yes, that they left and came back? Like
I don't know what Lana's doing with her life, but Clark's
right.
He's a published reporter, and he didn't do nothing.
Right.
He's got a pretty good job, in the big city and all that. And
yeah,
I assume Lana's not, living out of her car or somewhere,
right.
not working. Like, what did Pete do? What's
yeah. That's why I'm not, I mean, I kind of get Pete's side that he's salty, but I don't understand like what he's trying to point out here exactly.
It's like he's mad that they even came back at all, which I don't know. It's like, let's hang out, man. We came back to hang out with you, I guess.
Pete needs to grow up, man.
A little bit.
that's the.
But he also doesn't seem like he is that hard, Like he's got his shirt tucked in. He's all grown up and not wishing on the elephant or whatever. He's
right. Yeah.
He looks like he's got a nice grown up adult respectable job or whatever.
It's true.
He's not slouching in there in a Cthulhu t-shirt like I would be right now. So
you'd be in there wishing on elephants and all that.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on here. So we get some of the evening dinner, and this is, as you mentioned too, like home during the winter, gathered around the table eating dinner. This is totally Christmas vibes or holiday vibes without actually saying it. But I do enjoy this. She talks a little bit here about like feeling guilty that she didn't go back to Clark's parents when she did leave, because they kind of felt like parents too themselves. I like that she kind of clarified some of that here in some of the narration, and that they felt safe, or they feel safe. And she's trying to figure out, okay, maybe that's why Clark is back now too, for that same reason to feel safe. I also didn't realize, or at least here they explain a little bit more of Lana's past and how closely her and Clark, or how much her and Clark have in common. Which I know, like in the beginning, she was kind of breaking some of that down, but like both of them not really knowing their parents, things like that. And obviously just the rest of it growing up in the same town and all that. But anyway, so they're cooking. She asks Martha if what's going on with Clark, and she says that he'll speak his mind when he's ready. Going through some, I mean, I guess, really that's. Oh, I like the line where he goes, I think I can handle it, Pa. She says, you serve and I'll pass the plates. And then Martha says, hasn't Lana turned into a fine young woman, Jonathan? And Jonathan says, I only have eyes for you, dear. Like very
that's like the safest response, because if he's like, damn right she has, she could that could easily just take a whole different turn, or like, no, not at all. There's certain ways or I could bungle that response and say the wrong thing, but he's just like, nope.
Nice save, Jonathan. Nice save.
And it's also saves him because maybe he doesn't think she's all that great looking or something. So he could have been like, I don't think so. Like, he could just this gets him out of trouble in every way. I like it.
I gotta write that one down. Tessa's in the chat. Tessa says a very well rehearsed response. Yes, for sure. Grown up job. Let's see. Krista says there are people in rural areas that do resent others who go to big cities for professional careers. That does happen. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's something that's never really just something I considered or crossed my mind, being on either side of that. But yeah, interesting. So yeah, then we get a knock on the door. I like that he sees right through the wall, and calls it out as he sees it for seeing the Chief Parker.
Did not catch that part.
Oh no! Seeing through the wall. Yeah.
Just because
yeah.
For me, it's like right here on the next page. So I was just like, my mind just like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, totally.
They don't like draw an X-ray vision through the wall or the door or anything. It's right, they don't highlight. That went right over my head. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I like that they did that. Subtle stuff, Yep. So what's happening here? So they have a flood essentially downtown, right? And he's just letting the people know. I think that's really the gist of it. Folks are gathering in the church. That's what it is.
I don't know, man. Like when I was reading this issue, I felt like this one throws a catastrophe at Superman that only he can do anything about, really.
Mm-hmm.
As we see here, a big flood is about to hit the town, and it shows us something that only Superman can handle. Whereas in the last, was it the last issue? It shows us. I had this thought in my head when I was reading, and it made so much more sense like an hour ago. But like the last issue, we got a different kind of problem that he had to solve, but it was something that he had to like dial it down for. It was a much smaller kind of. I don't know if I'm not saying this right. I want to like Control Z this whole segment, but I loved the. There's just something here that like seeing something that only Superman can fix in this final issue.
Yeah.
It hits different after seeing him kind of dialed down in Metropolis for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. No, I could see that. And especially knowing like he kind of redeems himself here. At least, within how he's in his own head of feeling kind of like a failure from the last issue. Seeing what comes up next here, especially like him saving his dad, which I'll flip into the next stuff here. But I think I'm following you, Ryan. I think I'm following you.
It was a really good point in my head. Things are awesome in there.
You're like, it sounded better. Before it came out, it sounded better. So yeah, this was so this little bit here. She says, Jonathan, been a long time since we took on a flood, and we were much younger then. And he says, Mother Nature is just kicking our heels. He says, if we need to, we'll set out a daybreak. He says, until then, we'll be fine. Right, Clark? And he just says, yes, sir. And her narration during all this is, she says, I don't know exactly why it happened. Maybe it was just the tone of his father's voice, but all at once I understood how Clark was feeling. Was it that I don't know if I really grasp this moment. Like people are relying on him, but he says yes, sir, in a way that's like not positive. And is that just towards the whole like him continuing to feel like he's not good enough or that he can't solve all these problems?
I see the yes, sir, as him just humoring his dad. He doesn't agree, but he's just saying it, like,
okay,
sir, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir.
Got it.
But then on the bottom, on the last panel on this side here that you have, it's also got her follow-up thought to that. How she says, I don't know exactly why it happened. Maybe it was just the tone in his father's voice, but all at once I understood how Clark was feeling, like you said. And then her follow-up statement is how the whole world was resting on his shoulders. And maybe they weren't big enough to carry the load.
Okay, yeah.
So he's reassuring his dad and saying, yes, sir, everything's fine. But inside, the look on his face is, oh, crap, I'm not going to.
He's not feeling
how the hell am I going to fix a flood? Like,
right. Okay. So that was kind of how I was connecting that, but I wasn't sure if I was right on that. So that makes sense. Yeah. So he still has these doubts, right? Essentially, during this. I also like that she drops this bomb, right? Where she's just like, nothing like having a son who can change the course of a mighty river. And they're like, oh, she knows. He goes,
yeah, I think that's part of why this whole issue just works too, is the fact that you have all of these people in a house, and they all are the only people who know that he's Superman. So it's like it's a safe, comforting home for all of these people for different reasons. So it feels the way it's supposed to. It hits good.
Safe space.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like his shoulders go up. He goes, she knows. And he goes, she knows? And then she goes, I know. Yeah, well done. I had to blow this up because I love when we get the shots of him in his room. This time his room much cleaner, than we've seen over the past couple of issues. But of course he's not living there anymore. But it was just a nice little reminiscent, and I like the conversation here, the exchange that he has here with his dad, and he's kind of clarifying his doubts to his dad and expressing himself. And where is it at the top? He says, he goes, Pa, I began to think that I couldn't do anything. Or I'm sorry, I began to think I could do anything, and I can't. And I just like what his dad had to say here. He explains, my first year when the corn came in, it was the talk of the country. And I got wrong-headed enough to believe that every harvest would be a prize winner. The next year, 2 fields went fallow. It's not nearly as hard learning it's not nearly as hard learning you have limitations as it is learning how to work with them. He says, over time, I'd like to think I became a pretty darn good farmer. And he clarifies, over time, son. And I think that was just a big turning moment for him to even hear, and to get an understanding that, sure, like, you can't do everything, and especially not overnight. But like, you'll get better at things, right? I mean, ultimately, and that includes saving the world, which I think is a very realistic thing to consider and to think about from his standpoint. He kind of just like gave up after his first big setback or failure. And that was it, and of course it helps that Lex Luthor was like in his head to really, extend that feeling for him. But yeah, so I think that, I think this is what I just love so much about this book, is that there are these types of advice, and it's advice that's, it's tangible for anyone. It's tangible for me or you. It's tangible for anyone reading this book. It's not just for someone who has to be superhuman. And yet here is a superhero who's getting this advice and is legitimately taking it, so I think I just like the relatability to, again, someone who is superhuman, and to, as we've mentioned before, someone who we've looked at in the past as like, oh, I know a lot of people just look at Superman as like this boring, basic, superhero who's too easy to, he just can do anything. But it's a book like this that really like humanizes him, and it's moments like this, especially that he has with his dad or his stepdad, that's powerful, and that's what it's things like this that's really won me over here. So
I like seeing how not confident he is, and that's like you said, like people always write Superman off because normally you see the experienced version of him who's in full control of all of his abilities and is pretty badass. But this version of him, like you said, he's had one major setback, a couple wins, but a pretty big setback, and overall is still generally pretty early in his career. So this is like a growing pain. I need to learn how to find confidence and actually like believe in myself and push myself. And that's a very, like you said, it works for him, but this advice also really jumps off the page and makes you think. And I don't know, something about Superman particularly, like these comics hit a little harder than, with great power comes great responsibility, which sure, but
right.
What else you got?
Yeah, exactly. And Krista says, you can't win them all. Sometimes you can't even fight them all. It's very true. Very true. So yeah, and now we get this new test that comes about, as we've been mentioning here. So so Clark, I love this scene. Like, I love seeing Clark as wearing his Superman costume, but also having this like trench coat over him.
He doesn't do that.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the colors. Like, I love that brightness pops out, even though this is a very dark and dreary kind of scene with the rain and stuff. But I really, really enjoy all that.
I think something that makes this comic so special, like this whole series, is the fact that reading comics kind of trains you to expect that when you get to, like, you're reading a graphic novel and you get to the last few pages, right? You know, you're into the last issue and things are almost done.
Yeah.
Like every other comic trains you to expect some big blown out battle between him and Lex Luthor based on the way that the story has gone and based on what you know of Superman. But the fact that the threat and the conflict in this final issue is a flood, which even as far as natural disasters go is kind of boring compared to, you had a tornado in the first issue and it could be like a volcano, an earthquake or something scary and exciting, but a flood is just like, well, there's water and it's a lot. And like, it's like, there's nothing for him to like hit, or I don't know. It's just such a Superman specific problem.
Right.
And I don't know. It really hits at his struggle he can't fix this by fighting somebody or hitting something. It's a broader problem that he has to somehow tackle. I don't know. Superman works for me.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's not just your typical thing. And yet this, what sounds to kind of be a simple problem, it fits well for what this story is trying to point out and what it's trying to tell. And of course there are the moments of, the dad falling, him having, obviously the powers come in handy for those specific reasons of him saving his dad there, which we'll get here in just a moment. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think that's what I like about it is that you don't need to have some specific major issue per se. It's a little bit more simplified, and yet he's still able to lend a hand, and people still need the hand to be lent. So, it works in that way. I wanted to point out here too that, and this is where I think a lot of the story takeaway come from this side panel here, the one closest to us, when Martha and Lana are talking, and Martha's expressing how she's really glad that Clark chose to share the secret with her, and I like that Lana even points out that it has its moments. It's good. It's also not good, depending how you look at it or the situation. But Martha just or the two of them together discussing, Lana says, I don't know if a girl from Smallville has very many answers for a quote unquote Superman. And Martha points out and says his name. She says Clark in quotations. She goes, you of all people should know that whether or not he wears a cape and a big red S on his chest, he's still our Clark. And that, this is where it really
shuts her down.
Yeah, like, no. Totally. And it just ties in like how much of he's not just this superhero, perfect, invincible kind of person, but he's Clark. Like he's Clark. He's not just, there's Superman here. There's a person who saves us and whatever. There's so much more personality to him. And we're going to get to more of that at the very end here. But I loved, some of these lines that some of these moments, I should say. But anyway, so I'll jump into some of the action here. We do get a little kiss scene here, right? As they're about to go their separate way. The plan is for, Superman to go do his thing. And, Jonathan even says like, you go ahead. Like we're going to drive, into town or whatever. We'll be okay. He says, go help the people that need the help, Jonathan. And then, they have this moment here. She goes, go make things safe, Superman. And she gives him a kiss. So I wonder, like, we've touched briefly on this before, but I wonder, like, if there's other detailed stories of Lana and him and this relationship. Because I know, throughout the years and years of Superman in comics, it's always been Lois. Lois has always been the name, and the girl for him. So this was different, and it was nice to just get this little character building moment. Even though maybe Lana's not as significant down the road, she's certainly significant here in this part of his lifetime. So I liked it for that.
I wish I knew more Superman lore.
Yeah.
As far as I know, she's just his childhood, I don't even know if girlfriend's the right word. I guess it varies probably based on what story you're reading, but
right.
Close friend / maybe crush. Or at least
Yeah.
one-sided. She seems to really like him.
Yeah. Yeah, like I wouldn't mind reading a story that elaborated a little bit more on that, or I don't know if that hasn't been done yet. Just some of this younger, high school level type stuff or whatever, with a little bit more of her. I mean, I know the show like Smallville, so I've never watched any of that, but
me neither.
I assume that they touched on some of that stuff. I don't know. We got Travis in the chat. What is up, TM?
Hey,
thanks for hanging out, man.
It's late for you.
He says, "Hey, Ryan the Great." Ooh, Ryan the Great.
I've been going by that now. It's just trying it out, seeing how it feels.
That's what they call me.
Yep. Alexander the Great, and then Ryan.
and then Ryan.
Just the two of us.
I love it. So I love this scene here. Superman. We get, even though the whole scene's very dark and gloomy, you get the nice bright Superman suit, flying across the sky there, which was cool. And then of course we get this beautiful scene, which even though it's a majority is cape, I still love it. I still just love it. So, and of course he's like talking to himself here at this point and says, "All right, Lana, I'll make things safe." And he takes off. So I love that they gave him that little line there.
The fact that, yeah, like you said, it's a 2-page spread too, that makes it just, especially when you turn to this page in here and this is all you see. It's like, oh yeah, damn. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, another reason I need to get this hardcover. So yeah, then here's some of the action scenes. He saves the day, getting all these trees and stuff to kind of clog up the flood, and then in the meantime, and boulders and other materials to basically jam up this flood. So it's cool to see some action moments there. And in the meantime, and this shot too. I like these scenes of so basically did I miss a page? Oh no, I did. It's where the dog. It's on the right there. So their car basically falls off this bridge or whatever it is that they're on.
I've seen. Okay, so I've had. There's a spot near where I used to live.
Yeah,
that would flood when it rained.
Okay,
so just an intersection. You would just get it was. People would think it was just a puddle. It's a big puddle.
Yeah,
I can drive through this. But every year there would always be some dum-dum who would think that they could drive through it and think that they're sitting in some kind of like lifted monster truck or something that could totally clear, but they can't. And every year there was always a car that would just stall out and get stuck in the flood. And that's exactly like, I had that same vibe.
No.
Like, she's like, "Jonathan, we can't make it through this." And he's like, "Oh, no. Like, we can do it.
We got this."
his own dumb fault that they get stuck here.
Yeah. Well, how convenient that he has a son that can easily save the day there. Oh, yeah, let's see that. Yeah, that's awesome. Man, yeah, you can see the rain there too, the detail in the rain and stuff. Very nice, very nice. So the car goes tipping out. Luckily, Lana grabs Martha. Martha screams to Jonathan. The dog is also saved, luckily, but Jonathan falls out. Lana's trying to tell Martha, like, we need to hold on, help will come. And of course we get the lines swooshing by here in these panels. And he's just like, "I'm here, Mom." And he's just holding the car, which is great. She goes, "Clark, your father." He goes, "Don't worry." And Lana's like, "Martha, he said not to worry." And then he's looking for Pa. He ends up finding Pa, who's holding on barely in the flood, in the water, to this one log. And so he's able to pull him to safety. I do like that Jonathan, he coughs a little bit and then he says, "You can put me down now, son."
This is kind of weird.
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good now.
Not that old.
Yeah.
For me, though, the fact that this whole next page is about the dog is something that makes this comic just work too. Like,
oh yeah.
Normally you would just cut and show the dog in the next scene. It's like, oh, I guess the dog's fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that they show it, like, it hit me hard just looking out there and seeing poor little doggo. I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
but seeing just stuck on the rock or the log out there all by herself.
Yeah.
And just they don't even show him swooping over to rescue her. They're just like together.
Yep.
That last shot and just Superman. Yeah.
See, that would be a great poster shot too. I feel like a lot of these scenes would be great posters to have. And that's a great one too, especially if you're a dog, if you're a fan of dogs, which I have too. Obviously, I'm a fan. Yeah. Shelby. Where's Shelby?
Shelby.
Clark, okay. The dog. She's gone. He's like, gone? And then you just hear, ark, ark, ark.
Because if it wasn't Superman, your dog's stuck over there. Just like, oh crap, I guess we got to leave the dog. But,
yeah.
Superman can just fix it super quick, very easy. Like, okay.
Now, here's the other part of this moment, or one of the other parts of this moment that bring this book full circle for me is during the scene with the dog, the narration parts. Lana's talking about how there are people who, let me just go back here for a second. She goes, where is it? Where does she start this conversation with her, or this narration with herself? She's basically saying like, who would wonder, who would do that? Like, who would make the decision that Superman has made, where he just wants to help. He just genuinely wants to help. She says many people would just wonder this question of like, oh, here it is. She says people wondered why anyone, excuse me, people wondered why anyone with those kinds of powers and abilities, if it were true, would use them to help others and not for their own benefit. And she said, I found myself smiling. And this is during this whole accident, this whole scene. She says, I found myself smiling. She goes, no one would give it a second thought how Chief Parker came out on such a horrible night to warn us, any more than than a fireman rushes into a burning house. Not so much to rescue, not so much to rescue someone, but to find out if there's anyone else who needs rescuing. She says, every time a nurse bandages a wound, every time a pastor offers comfort, every time a parent hugs their child. She says, these are choices each of us make, not only to do good, but to inspire good in others. She says, I finally realized while I was away, how special it made me feel, because to understand the man in the cape who could fly, all I needed to know was Clark. And again, just that making him his character and not just some, powerful being who can't die or whatever. I know he dies, but who essentially is indestructible. And separating that thought and making him like, yeah, but if you know Clark, like, Clark would do this stuff because that's the kind of person he is. Just like we could apply that thought to any good person who just wholeheartedly does good things in the world. When they could be doing something to benefit themselves or whatever. But even just some of these simple examples that she gives, it just is a nice reminder that for her, especially, like, in order for me to understand when people do ask that question, I just have to remember that I know Clark, and Clark is totally that guy to be there and do that kind of stuff. So sorry if I'm rambling, but I love this moment for that too.
It got me thinking about the great power, great responsibility, from earlier.
Yeah.
Stan Lee does all of this in, like 2 lines, but I think it's nice to get that.
You're right.
The thought behind that, you expand that and look at it over the course of pages and pages.
Yeah, a little action story. Yeah.
Sure.
For sure.
The more good you can do, the more obligated you should be to do good with that stuff.
And inspire others. That's right. I see we got John Ross in the house. What is up, John? Tessa says this book is just masterful. I agree, Tessa. I agree. And James Phelps in the house. What's going on, James? Says good evening. And then so we're getting right to the end here. We get the gathering of the church. Pastor has some kind and positive words, enlightening words, I should say, that he shares with the people, just talking about how, in order to grow, sometimes you have to go through certain things, dealing with damages. They're dealing with property damages and stuff like that. But luckily the storm's over, and hopefully they can rebuild and use this as a passage, as he says, to appreciate the future. So I think that's all well said. I like that. Again, it just kind of gave you that homey vibe again, and just strong reminder of Smallville and what it stands for and the people that are part of it and why Clark is so passionate about, his hometown.
I was reading this issue right before we went live, and by the time I got around to this part, it was super late.
Yeah.
And I looked at the clock, and I looked back at this page, and I was like, okay, pastor stuff. Just he's just everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna be good. Okay, I just skimmed this whole section.
Very accurate.
You read it way more detailed than I did. It's like, oh, we'll be fine. Everything's gonna be good, and it's a flood. And next page. The time I gotta hurry.
The skimmer, yeah,
when I have to,
the pastor skimmer,
read it, like the sermon. Oh yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, pastor stuff. Rabble.
That would be me if I actually standing there, like, let's go.
Right. Can we eat now? Like, what are we doing here? That's funny. And then we get these last final couple of pages here. She says, I went halfway around the world and found out I never really left Smallville at all. It was more than just a memory, than just memories. The town was part of who I was and who I always will be. I guess Clark and I weren't so different after all. And again, I think just really helping tie why these characters, care so much about Smallville and what it means to them. She says, take care, Clark. And Clark goes back to the city.
Specifically showed him flying away too.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of last issue, when he showed up on the farm, he definitely walked or took the bus, or he could have flown home. But he took human ways to get there because he was not feeling very super and proud of himself at a low moment. But now everything is better and he flies off. So
yep. And he is on the far side. If anyone's looking, he's that small bit there, and then it flashes right into this, which he's continuing the flight to the big city there. So yeah, good call there, Ryan. And Ryan, we hit our goal. My friend. Check this out. John Ross says, you guys are making me want to read Superman. Boom.
It's like at least one every video we do. Like,
there it is.
Hopefully.
We've done our job here, Ryan. That's right. Our work here is done.
Very end.
Yeah. We can cut this short, Ryan.
The very end of issue 4 of 4. Yeah. We finally got you.
We got another one. We got him hooked. You totally should, John Ross. And we're going to be continuing and doing some more Superman reads, which we'll talk a little bit about. But we are planning some stuff. So, John, if you're interested in partaking, then reach out. All right, so these last pages here, we get back to the Daily Planet, which is nice, and of course, how convenient. Clark shows up. The boss is like, "Oh man," he's like, "I'm so proud of you, Clark. I wish all my reporters would take some time off and come back with a front page story." And meanwhile, Lois is just like, you mother father, how the heck did you manage this? And I love how she calls him Smallville. It's great. And he says, just lucky, I guess. That's his kind of one line. I love how she's like looking at him there, just so angry.
They're gonna catch him very soon.
Yeah. Even that zoom in of the paper where it just says, Daily Planet, Superman stops flood by Clark Kent. How convenient.
Totally different guy.
and then
this kid again.
Yeah, we close it out with the kid and the purple and green robot.
He actually falls off again right here.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get the cat, man. He's getting the cat man.
The cat's on his own journey, man.
Yeah,
it's your fault for going up on the roof. It's the cat's fault for going on the roof, but you can't control the cat, man. You can't control whether or not you climb up on the skyscraper. The blizzard.
Come here, stupid cat. He falls off, says yikes. Meanwhile, Lex is just like standing there watching this stuff happen. He goes, citizen. And then, of course, Superman comes flying in. He says, tell Lex Luthor I'm back. And it just shows Lex in the shadows there, very Kingpin-like, as I've said before. And just says someday. And then I like how he says at the end, haven't we met before? He goes, wow, you remember? He goes, I'm Trevor, but everybody calls me Trev. Maybe this is TM. Right now. He says, good to meet you, Trev. He goes, folks call me Superman. as we get to that final bout.
The mean part of me wanted him to be like, Trev, that's stupid.
What a loser.
Right here at the very end, like, what a dumb name, kid.
Yeah, just completely heartbreaking.
Should have let you fall.
So I feel like I have to read this last bit because it's so nice how it closes this out. I'm gonna read this last bit.
Do it.
He says, she as Lana is narrating, she says, "I know that Jonathan and Martha, like any good parents, worry about their son, but he's doing fine, and I suspect just about the best he can. Our best should all be as good." And then she says, "As for me, I'll be staying in Smallville with some new hope and dreams and prayers, and maybe I'll give Pete Ross a call." I don't know if we need the Pete Ross line, but I just like the bit about the parents being good parents, because I think that all still brings it back around for me, where I'm just like, man, thank goodness he had great parents to teach him good and to just want to genuinely be a good person. Obviously, that plays such a huge role in doing that. So, yeah. And that's it.
Between that Pete Ross line at the very end and Luthor here going someday, I got the sense that like there maybe was supposed to be more of this book, or like a sequel series or something.
Oh,
it feels
maybe.
like they were kind of getting everything set for a future or something. I don't know. It just sucks that this is only 4, but
I agree.
I'm glad that it's 4 awesome issues and not like a 12-issue thing that got extended. And
right.
Yeah, tight 4.
I agree. Something that it reads fast, it reads easy, and again, it's an easy way to get people into the character, especially if you're just not familiar with that character or any of the characters. That's the thing I like too. Is I feel like it was nice to get a better glimpse of Lana, of Jonathan and Martha, even Lex Luthor, like getting his point of view in the last issue, and obviously Lois Lane. Their narrations, like just nice to get kind of a round bit of all that. Even like Jimmy Olsen, we get like a tiny glimpse, in certain moments. Not that there was a lot of detail, but
it's one of the reasons I love DC.
Yeah,
because you say I want to learn. I don't know Superman. I want to learn Superman. What do I read? Boom. There you go. Batman. Yeah. You got a million different ideas. What do you do when someone says, "I'd like the X-Men movies. Let me get it. What's a good X-Men comic I should read? Like, what's a good X-Men comic for beginners to get into?" And then you're like, "Oh, here's the Dark Phoenix saga. But to really get this, you got to know that there was all this backstory." And no, it's a great book, and you should read it. But it's also
just a big commitment.
You can't just hand someone the stuff
without it being like an omnibus. Read this entire omnibus.
Well, make sure you go to the Wikipedia page and read the full history between Scott and Jean. There's so much there, and you got to know it. There's backstory here. So once you read this, you want to go back and make sure you read all this and that, and it's like just read this Superman book.
Tessa has a point. God loves, man kills. That's a good answer. It's a very good answer. Hey, we got Taku in the house. What's going on, Taku? Thanks for hanging out. It says Justin and Ryan, 2 of my favorite YouTubers. What's going on? Appreciate you hanging out with us. And yeah, Tessa pointed out American Alien and All-Star are some of my favorites. So I don't know American Alien.
Alien was really cool. It's like an anthology series.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm mostly interested to reread All-Star Superman for myself, because as much as I own the Absolute, but I don't love it. I mean, maybe I'm just forgetting, or I'm reading something wrong, but I'm interested to give it a reread. It's been several years.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm jumping the gun, I guess.
Yeah. No, this is great. So before we say anything else, any final thoughts here, Ryan, on this issue or this series as a whole? Because obviously we are at the end of it, but it was a blast. So any final thoughts here for anything?
Thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for giving this comic a try,
dude. Thanks for suggesting it, and thanks for doing this with me, man. This seems awesome.
Yeah, this comic means a lot to me personally. I would also like to thank anybody in the future who watches this on the replay and decides to maybe want to try this comic. You should. It's a fun one. It's easy. It's 4 issues. You can read it in like an hour.
Yep.
Maybe a little longer.
It is a quick read.
Maybe a little quicker.
Yeah.
About an hour. However long it takes you to read 4 issues. I'm going to shut up on that particular plot point and move on. But it's a great one, especially if you. I think overall, I think this is a really good comic to hand to somebody who says Superman's dumb.
Yeah.
Like read this and then tell me Superman.
Yeah, then look me in the face and say it then.
And at least then I'll know that you have experienced, I think, like the best counterpoint to that. And If you still don't like it, then okay.
Fair.
You try.
Yep. Very fair. Well, I'm with you. And I had a lot of fun doing this. Anybody watching, if you're just joining, in issue 4, if you're looking for the others, they're all back on the channel. So we did do issues 1 through 3 before this, so you can find those there. I mean, this is definitely something I would like to go back and read from time to time. I think that this is a book that easily, it's that good that it would make anybody want to reread it from time to time. It's a good feel good story. It's a nice reminder of a lot of things, and it's very relatable. And it is nice to get into it, coming from my perspective as someone much newer to the character in general. And as you said, this is something I will definitely be not only suggesting to people, but maybe the occasional AOK or sending out to certain folks who I know haven't given Superman a shot. That I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna send this to you because you really should. So that's how I feel about it. What? She says, whoa, you did miss 1 through 3 before 4. No,
I was gonna say, like, I got that vibe too. Like you said, we're doing number 4. Next time we're just gonna jump right into issue 2. We're gonna skip 3. We're working backwards, but we're gonna skip 1.
My bad. Did I sound like
I got that vibe.
Sorry, too. we did 1 through 3. We're if you're just catching up on 4 now, you can go back and watch
them in order too.
Yeah,
everything's fine. 3, 4, 2, 1.
Yeah,
that's the order.
We should stream live randomly one day, Ryan, and just name it the 5th issue just to throw people off. And we'll just ramble.
That one?
We'll just ramble for an hour. Yeah. So anyways, thanks for everybody who's been hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Before we go away, I will say, Ryan, I know we talked about this. We will plan this out, but we want to read All-Star Superman next, right? That's the plan.
That's the idea. This big one here.
Sweet. Yeah. So
probably the most popular Superman comic.
Maybe. I mean,
I get at least.
That was the first one that was suggested to me, probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago, as a Superman book. So I've definitely heard of it, but never read it. So, and then I know our my friend Daryl, Read Your Comics. He's gonna join us as well. So. I guess we'll figure it out. Over the next month or so, we can schedule something, and I don't know if we're going to do, monthly or how we'll split it up yet, whatever works for our schedules.
It's an undertaking. Yeah.
It's 12
issues, so.
Yeah. I was like, we could do like 2 issues per episode, or we could just do 1 and, just string it throughout a full year's worth and just go that way. I'm down pretty much for any of that. As long as it can work out for all of our schedules. So and I know Damian Sleepy Reader, he said he was interested in being a guest on 1 or 2 of them, so that'd be cool to have a couple different guests as well. So that's we'll figure it out. Check us out on Instagram. We'll post about it as we kind of plan that out. I put your information in the description, so anybody not subbed up to you certainly should, if you're watching this now and you're not subbed up to Ryan. I guess that's it for now. Anything else you wanted to add?
I think I'm good. I think I got it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. All right. Well, like I said, we'll post somewhere for the next our plan of the next one or whatever. But Ryan, again, I want to thank you for just doing this with me. This was a blast. Appreciate you. Looking forward to doing more of these with you.
Same. It's been fun.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right, gang. Well, we're going to wrap it up then. Appreciate everybody watching, and make sure you smash the like button on the way out. Until next time, we will talk to you later.